Before you realized you were autistic, how would you describe your relationship with money and finances?
Ooh, chaotic.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Spill the Tea series by Discover, where we get real about personal finances and create a space for everyone to share their unique money POVs. I'm your host, Ivan Emilio, and today we're diving into a meaningful conversation about autism, money, and the ups and downs some autistic folks experience while navigating finances. Meet our three incredible guests, each diagnosed as autistic later in life, a journey shared by nearly half of autistic adults. Our guests will share how this has shaped their financial perspectives from work life to personal spending. But first, I'd like to welcome our behind-the-scenes expert, Pasha Marlowe.
Yes, I'm a therapist and a neurodiversity consultant. I work with organizations to help support neurodivergent people, such as those who are autistic. Some see their autism as a disability, and some do not. Autism exists on a spectrum with diverse experiences, so the experiences of our guests today do not represent the entire autistic community.
And with that, let's bring in our guests. So I'm here with Amina. Thank you for being here.
I'm Amina Mucciolo. I'm an artist, an author, and a human rainbow. I use my platform to spread color, joy, self-acceptance, and I'm here to talk about just my experience as a late in life realized autistic person and what that's been like with my financial journey.
My name is Joey Nix. I'm a late diagnosed autistic, chief marketing officer, and a mom of two. As a creator, people turn to me for career, parenting, and money advice.
Hi, I'm Sol Smith, and I'm also an author and a college professor and an autistic life coach. And I really try and help autistic people better understand themselves, better communicate with the world around them. And I've made all the financial mistakes so that nobody else has to, hopefully. And I really try and share my experiences as openly and honestly as I can so that other people feel like they can share theirs.
If you had to describe your spending habits in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Experiences over things. So if there's an experience, a trip, a show that you really want to share with someone else, I feel like that's much more valuable than another set of shoes. Although I do love shoes.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
And I always try to look at it as like that your dollar is worth more or less just depending on how you feel about it later, because it's not just math, it's like math plus emotions somehow. I've never regretted a dollar I've spent on travel.
Amina, before you realized you were autistic, how would you describe your relationship with money and finances?
Ooh, chaotic.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I need to be a creative person. I need to make art just for a living, and I didn't always know that. So the way I filled the void is through shopping. Okay. I might have a lot of markers.
Okay. Oh.
But for work.
But
I mean, this is what I do for a living.
You use them, so that's for work. It's fine. So can you share your experience of seeking an autism diagnosis later in life, and how did it affect your understanding of yourself?
I was sort of outed by a career coach that I was seeing because they were also late diagnosed autistic. And my first experience when I was hearing that maybe I could be, I was like, you've got to be kidding me, I'm so social. There's no way that I'm autistic, right? Because of all of the media portrayals that we've ever seen of an autistic person. But I did my own research, I really dove into the community, and thank God we have social media and creators like Amina and Sol that can enlighten what autism can look like in a lot of different people. It's like wearing glasses for the first time.
Yeah, realizing that I was autistic later in life has had a huge impact on how I understand myself. But the main thing I think it did is it gave me the information I need to figure out how to best take care of myself and how to live a more full life. Now, I just show up as my full self more.
Even after diagnosis, I wasn't sure. I had that double imposter of I don't feel like I fit in with other people, but do I fit in with autistics too? Am I faking autism for approval or something? And then when I started content creating and I shared personal stories and people related to them, that was wild. Because usually when I share a personal story with people who I talk to, it would be like, wow, that's really weird. And these people were like, oh my God, same. And I was like, this is a thing.
How has understanding autism helped you better understand your own financial habits, and have they improved since then?
Because I like a routine, because I like repetition, I can predict a lot of my expenses. And so setting a budget isn't that difficult, because I repeat the patterns over and over. So that's the thing. That's probably the best thing.
Fortunately, I was given the math and science type of autism, so I love me some numbers, a good spreadsheet, a great financial app. So this was happening even before I found out I was autistic, but it is quite useful when budgeting and managing your finances. If you just are a person that loves numbers, you can get a good grip of it.
Yeah, I didn't get the mathy autism.
Yeah.
I would say that like it's sort of like understanding that I don't understand things, because I felt like I had a handle on my finances, and yet it would always get away from me. And then finally to be able to sort of sit there and say, okay, there's a lot that I'm just missing because I'm gonna miss it. Much like you said with like putting on glasses, it was like I had to accept that a lot of the way that the financial world works is counterintuitive to me. A lot of it feels very upside down. So I really had to take a step back and try to see how I can accommodate myself to not get in the kind of trouble I've been in.
So many of us check our social media every day, check our emails every single day. What's more important than checking your financial health every day? So I'm the type of person that wants to know exactly what's in my bank account, what's in my checking, what's in my savings, how much credit card debt am I in every single day, so that I'm not in a fearful place every time I swipe. If I know about something, the same way that like autists may find difficulty in changing a routine, the more you know about a situation, the less you need to be afraid of it.
Have you faced any money or employment related obstacles because of autism, and how have you dealt with them?
In my early 20s, I had a lot of problems with working different jobs, and really wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. I have to be my own boss. That's just the only way. Like at the end of the day, I have to work for myself. I can play on a team, but it's good when I'm in charge of the team.
So you gotta be the boss of yourself and everyone.
What I find difficult that would be nice for more people to be mindful of is autism is an invisible disability. Some people's autism are louder than others, but often in a workplace where there are ADA protections and you might not be disclosing that you have autism because it is a protected disability, it's easy for others to think of something as a character flaw as opposed to a communication style or a neurotype. And so very few people who are autistic are even employed in the corporate workforce. And I think allowing more accommodations, awareness of different communication styles is really essential so we can overcome these obstacles in our careers and thrive.
And how has understanding autism shaped your career and work life?
I work really well with my brain in the mornings. I know that by 1 o'clock or so, I don't want to be doing things that have me thinking really deeply. That's when I put in doing emails or having meetings, that kind of thing, so that it is, I don't have to change hats all day long, because it's task switching that really throws me off. I'll lose focus, I'll lose energy, and again, the workplace may not be the best place to do that for a lot of people, because decision fatigue is real. It takes a lot of cognitive energy to make decisions. So I try to cut back on those. For example, I have 12 of these black shirts. I know what I'm wearing every morning. Like there's just no question about it. And that way, it's just one less decision that I have to make.
Yeah, when you have a neurodivergent brain, you gotta find a work-life balance that works with your brain as opposed to against it. So I think all three of us are business owners, we chart our own paths because we can set our own schedules. I personally find that I can enter stages of hyper-focus and then burnout. Something that might take someone else a week to do, I might laser in and get it done in 4 hours, and then I can't do anything for the next 2 days. So owning your own schedule, how much you want to say yes or no to things has been really helpful after my autism diagnosis.
So do you have any life hacks or tools that have helped you on your money journey with autism that everyone could benefit from?
I feel like we're sort of pre-programmed to get a sense of self-worth out of money, about if we have it or not, and there's like almost this like moral weight attached to it. And by really taking that off, it reduces stress.
Nice.
And as long as you're not living too close to the bone, it really helps to put as many expenses as possible in auto pay. And maybe everybody's like, duh, but to me this was somewhat of a revelation.
If there's one thing that autistics love, it's a system. So if you can find a pattern or a system that works for you, every single time you get a paycheck, like you said, an auto pay might happen. How much goes into your savings? How much goes into paying down your debt? How much goes into something that you really love, like a special interest? And if you have that system of my percentages, then you're free to spend within that system.
Nice.
You're making it sound fun.
I know. I'm so invested.
It can be. Let's watch the numbers go
Yes,
around.
I'm gonna leave and check all my bank accounts immediately after I leave. I want to cheers to all of you for being here and being vulnerable and sharing your experiences.
Thanks for having us.
It's a lot, of course. All right, everyone, that concludes our episode on late diagnosed autism and money. You know, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you to our guests for sharing your experiences with us, and thank you to Pasha for providing support for the guests and me.
This has been great. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
As we saw today, when it comes to managing money, autistic people may struggle with executive functioning, like managing time or task completion, or the social requirements of asking for help. That's why having these conversations is important and serves as a great way to increase awareness and inclusion.